Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. I'm JeremyInternational. I hope I sound okay. If there's any weird audio stuff going on, please let me know. This is the advice stream. We are live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And we're back in my basement today because we reorganized all my video games last week, and this week we're going to reorganize but also really pare down, I think, my DVD and Blu-ray collection. It's kind of gotten a little out of hand, and I'd like to have less of that stuff. I think it has been a challenging week in my medical journey, but I think I'm doing okay at the moment, so hopefully we'll have some fun today. I am having a beer because why not? But if you're new, let me put up the little logo here. If you're new, this is the advice stream. I'm Jeremy International. Typically on the advice stream, we play old video games and I offer you advice. People write in with questions and I give you, do my best to give you hopefully helpful answers. We have a couple questions I've gleaned from the internet today. Of course, as always, if you'd like to seek advice anonymously, you can head on over to JeremyInternational.com. And there's a contact form at the bottom that you can use to submit a question. If you don't want to be anonymous, you can just throw it into the chat also, and everyone will at least see your screen name. Looks like we got Jugsy. Hey, Jugsy. And we got Amir. Hello, Amir. And of course, we got Normie Has-beens. We were going to have Oldman on like we normally do, but the audio setup that I have here in the basement has turned out to be, I thought it was going to be simple, and it has turned out, what's going on with my hair? It has turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I thought it would be. So we weren't able to get that sorted out with the time that I left for us today. But we have some questions we'll go over, and we have lots and lots of movies we're going to look at one at a time, and we're going to decide if we want to keep, and we're going to decide if we want to go back. Next week, we will be back in the studio where Oldman and myself have spent a lot of time making sure the audio works correctly, and it does. So we'll be back there next week, hopefully with a game of some sort. But we will see how that goes. One of these days, I'm going to do a whole episode where I just go into graphic detail about all my medical stuff. But for the time being, suffice to say, I have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew and kind of over scheduled shifts in some of my most vital medications to all happen at the same time for some silly reason. And I have been struggling, but that is sometimes what life is. So we'll just get through it. We'll take it day by day, and we will be golden in the sun sometime soon. But it's nice to see everyone. In my poor time management skills today, I didn't get a computer or anything. I just have my iPad. I see everyone's chat, but I'm not even sure if someone gets, oh, rats, yeah. If someone gets like auto blocked because there's words you use that the system blocks for whatever reason, I'm not going to be able to see that or unblock that text. So I'll just ask everyone to watch their language. If something's weird going on and everyone really needs me to kind of dig in and have a look, I can get up and go to my desktop over there and have a look. I normally have my laptop with me just for those reasons, and I thought I was being clever by not setting it up today, but now I realize that I should have it. All right, so this is how it's going to work today. I have a stack of movies. I have many stacks of movies, and I'm going to hold them up one at a time. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. And then if I want to keep it, I'm going to put it on the shelf. And if I want to get rid of it, I have a big old Crate and Barrel box over there that I'm going to put it in. My local comic book shop has a really big media selection, and they sell used DVDs and Blu-rays. I have not reached out to them yet, but maybe they'll want to buy the ones I want to get rid of. So we shall see. But if you have opinions or thoughts about the movies that I'm holding up, I would love to hear them. Let's have a discussion. That's what we're here to do. Why don't we go ahead and get started? and we will take a break after a little bit and do a question. I have a couple really interesting ones today. And then we'll get back into it. And hopefully we'll get through everything. I have a lot, but hopefully we'll get through everything today. The first movie, this is all disorganized and a mess. That's why we're here to sort this out, is The Great War of Archimedes. I think I talked about this last week. I like this movie a lot. I feel like this is a disc that is probably not easy to get if I change my mind. So I'm going to keep it. So that's the keeper. It's by the same director that did Godzilla -1. It is about the move to stop the Japanese from building big battleships before World War II started. I enjoyed that movie a lot, so we're going to keep that one. Next up is Clue. Is this 4K? It is 4K. I'm keeping this. Probably going to keep all my 4Ks. Maybe not literally all of them, but most of them. Who here would disagree with me if I said this is the greatest comedy film of all time? If you disagree with me, I'm going to disagree with you because I think this is one of the greats. If you haven't seen Clue, you should see Clue. Everyone, ensemble cast. Christopher Lloyd is in this. Tim Curry, of course. Madeline Kahn. This is an amazing, hysterical movie, and everyone is just acting real hard. Michael McKean's in it. Yeah, this is great. Clue. Normie Hasbin says Airplane is #1. Clue's definitely in the top 5. You know what, Normie? I haven't seen Airplane ! In a long time. So maybe I should go back and watch it again before I solidify my opinion here. But I mean, Clue's the best. So I'm keeping that because it's 4K. Now this movie is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. These movies were great when they were coming out. I don't know if I could really invest in Harry Potter again after knowing what we know about what's their name. This is not mine. In fact, this is my sister's. So I'm going to put this in the sister pile because she's going to get that back. There's actually a few Harry Potter movies of hers here that I will keep. I don't know how I'm certain that she thinks that J.K. Rowling is also a monster. But is she going to want those back or not? I don't know, so I will give her that option. And then also Monsters, Inc. is hers too. This is on Disney Plus. I got Disney Plus, so I'm probably, if this was mine, I don't know if I'd keep it, but it's not mine, so that's got to go away for her. I will also almost certainly keep all of my Criterion movies. This is the Criterion Collection version of the original Godzilla. Man, this movie is special. If you haven't seen 1954 Godzilla, not the American version, the Japanese version, which is what this is, you should see that movie because it is a doozy. I'm a big Godzilla fan, and I have here, in fact, a really nice steel case Blu-ray of Mothra. A lot of people don't realize Mothra first appeared in her own movie, not in a Godzilla movie, and definitely this is a keeper because Mothra. So we will keep that too. This is already boring, but this is something I have to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and say I appreciate everybody being patient with me while I go through this. If this is boring for you or if I'm not really ringing any bells for you, I respect that, but hopefully we can have fun doing this together. Now, I am, I'm sure it has been mentioned before, a big Marvel Comics fan, and not all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies are great, but I've committed to owning all of them on 4K in Steelbook. So this is the Marvels. Haven't even opened it. But that is also a keeper. More Criterion, so much Criterion. Seventh Sign, Double Indemnity. Seventh Sign I have seen, and it is beautiful and weird and eerie. I actually don't think I've ever seen Double Indemnity. I should bump that up on my list. The Criterion Collection, occasionally has these 50% off sales, so I sometimes go in and grab a bunch of stuff when it is cheap. I think this is going to be our first get rid of is my kid when she was little, and sometimes still now that she's a little bit older, she's 3, really likes Twirly-Woos. They were streaming on Netflix or something, and the Netflix pulled them, so I went out on the internet and found Twirly-Woos on Twirly-Woos on DVD. Don't really need these anymore. She isn't really interested, so that goes in the box. Bye-bye Twirly-Woos. Criterion, Dazed and Confused. Like I was saying, I'm going to keep all the Criterion movies. This is also a movie that I've had for a while and I haven't seen yet. Really like 70s horror movies. Jugsy says Twirly-Woos keeper for sure. And I don't think Twirly-Woos is going to come up that much more often. So yeah, I think that's a getter ritter. Yeah, sorry Jugsy. Look, something's got to go. I'm running out of bookshelf space and I need more video games. So something's got to go. But I'm a big fan of 70s, specifically 70s horror movies. And this is a movie called The Devil Rides Out. It's been on my list to watch for a long time. I think I found this cheap somewhere. It's got Christopher Lee in it. Can't go wrong with a horror movie with Christopher Lee. So that is a keeper. Definitely. And keeping all the 4Ks. So Godzilla King of the Monsters. Not a great movie. Don't love this one, but it is fun and it's pretty. So that is a keeper as well. We are moving along. Jugsy, what's your thoughts on the Twirly-Woos? You're a Twirly-Woos fan? You like the Twirly-Woos? Who's your favorite Twirly-Woo? Mine is Peekaboo. Peekaboo is my favorite. I'm going to say Peekaboo. Also, Asteroid City. Loved it. Keeping it. Keeper. Then we're going to start getting into Star Trek, and I'll also tell you, wow, as far as paring stuff down goes, I'm doing a bad job of it so far. Citizen Kane, also essential. This is the really nice 4K remaster. Jugsy says Tomato Head. I don't think there's one called Tomato Head on the Twirly-Woos, unless you've seen more Twirly-Woos than I have. I don't know a Tomato Head. But there should be a Tomato Head. So Citizen Kane is Criterion, so that is a keeper. Oh boy, it is raining. It just started raining hard out there. Okay, so Star Trek. First 3 seasons of Discovery. Keeping these, even though it's not my favorite Star Trek show. And in fact, I don't think I've seen past the 2nd season. So I should probably get around to that at some point. The fact that there is Star Trek out in the world that I have not seen, which is Discovery starting at the 3rd season on, is a shocking revelation every time I have it. Also, Picard season 1, I didn't like this show. Didn't like it at all. But I'm keeping those anyways. Lower Decks is great. Here's first 2 seasons of Lower Decks. This is a good show. That is a high quality program. Big fan. Keeping that too. The Dune in 4K, also keeper. Yeah, Jugsy, Asteroid City was great. I enjoyed every second of that movie. Just great. Visually, like always with Wes Anderson, visually terrific. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Also, great movie. Do I need this? Do I need to keep this? Is this a keeper or a get ridder? I think I'm going to get rid of it. I mean, it's not like it's difficult to watch. I really like this movie a lot. But, hey, Afrobot, how's it going? Good to see ya. This is a cool cover, if that's what we're talking about. But I think I'm gonna get rid of it. We'll get rid of that. Love that movie. That's not in any way whatsoever a assessment on the movie itself. It's just something's got to go. I can't keep everything, and that's a getter ridder. Like I was saying, I have every Marvel movie in a 4K in Steelbook. This is Doctor Strange. Also, not one of the best. Doctor Strange is a great character, but I thought this movie was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Could have gone weirder than it did. So I don't love that. about that movie, but it is what it is. What else do we have here? Okay. Okay, and some of these movies are my wife, and I'm not going to get rid of that. So here's a complicated deal. These are all Woody Allen Blu-rays, and I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about these. Because these movies have always been really, his work has been important to me as a young person growing up. And now for obvious reasons, we feel complicated about it. Maybe less complicated. I'm going to set these aside. I got to think about that. They're going to go there for now. What else? We've got all of, yeah, Jugsy, Doctor Strange is a wonderful character, and there's lots of Doctor Strange comics that are terrific. If you haven't read the really early Steve Ditko Doctor Strange comics, you should, because they are still weird and creepy and confusing in all kinds of fun ways. I felt like that movie was just a little boring. By the time that movie came out, we had so many origin stories for Marvel in these big budget movies. I didn't want another. Doctor Strange's origin story is not particularly interesting. It is not in any part the things that make that character cool or weird. And I wish we had just jumped right in to him having been Doctor Strange for years and years and years. But hopefully we get less and less origin stories as we go, because most of those aren't particularly interesting to watch. This is all of Star Trek Enterprise on Blu-ray. Enterprise, if you recall, was the first Star Trek show shot in HD, so they didn't need any kind of processing to get put onto Blu-ray, because they were widescreen and digital. So we're keeping this. We're keeping all of our Star Treks for sure. We're not getting rid of any Star Treks. On the opposite end of the spectrum there is the original series, which went through a lot of work to get onto a Blu-ray. And some people don't love how the remastered original series looks. I think these shows look great. Going back, there's a lot in the original Star Trek to kind of take you out of the story just because they're so dated. But if the special effects look really good, it kind of helps you stay in the world a little bit longer when you're watching those episodes. And these episodes look amazing. If you want to watch the original series, I'm sure this is what's streaming on whoever's streaming Star Trek these days. But this is the way to go, for sure. Let's see. I've got... This is Voyager 4, 5, 6, and 7 season. And these are just on DVD because these weren't shot in digital and have never been remastered, because remastering is expensive. And so you can only get Voyager on DVD, unfortunately. And I would love, and I'm sure that there are lots of people that would too, would pay big bucks to see a high definition remaster version of that. Paramount Plus in the early days did Star Trek like shorts. Some of these are all right. Hey, it's Fred Undead. Hey, Fred. I'm about to come across some of your movies, Fred Undead, in my sort through here. And I am not going to get rid of any of them, of course, because they're yours, and that's your decision to make. So I'll probably just skip most of those, but we'll see what we find. Also, Star Trek-wise is the animated series. These are also remastered in HD. I've been watching a little bit of this with my daughter, and she gets really into it when we watch it. So these are fun and kind of a little bit more accessible for little kids if you want to. DVD. These are your movies, Fred Undead, so I'm just going to set these aside, and you can decide what to do with those when it is convenient for you. If you're a young kid, you might not know what this is, but Live Aid was a big, giant, massive concert in JFK Stadium in Philadelphia and in London, and it had all of the acts of the day. What year was this? Is this just DVD? Is this not Blu-ray? It's just DVD. I wonder if I got this before Blu-ray was really a thing. What year was Live Aid? Anyways, like the big moments from this event that you've probably seen before is like Queen's big like musical event. This is super fun. There's lots of really good, like the scene in the Freddie Mercury movie where he's on stage in front of like 1 billion people. That was Live Aid. I am gonna keep this, although I doubt I'm ever gonna watch it again. I'm gonna put that in a maybe pile. One show I've been dragging my feet getting into that maybe it's time to try again is Evangelion. This is a box set of that I think I bought for Fred and Dead once a long time ago. Jugsy says the animated series is better than the original series. Interesting, Jugsy. To be honest, I don't know if I've seen enough of the animated series to confidently answer that question. But what I've seen, I've really enjoyed because it's goofy and silly fun in the way that the animated series is, and the original series is too. So we'll see about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and say on the internet now, Fred and Dead, we should maybe this is the show we need to get into a new show. Maybe this is the show that we should watch next. We just have to sit on the sofa and watch it on because it's just discs, and I haven't been able to copy this on my thing. So, but I feel like I feel like I'm in the mood for something like this right now. So that's a keeper. We have a chunk here of Miyazaki movies. Here's a good one. Afrobot says everyone's agreeing the movies. Well, let's watch the movies. I think we have those too, don't we? We'll come across those soon enough. So let's see who, I'm sure all y'all nerds out there know all the Miyazaki movies. What's your favorite? Howl's Moving Castle? Totoro? Kiki? Ponyo? Nausicaa? Spirited Away? I got more than that. Do I not have Princess Mononoke? Anyways, throw in the chat, why don't you, what your favorite Miyazaki movie is. Jugsy says Mononoke. For me, I don't care if it's basic. I don't think there's anything basic about that movie, Jugsy. That movie is intense. And I think that maybe it's like the one that's most well-known in the US or whatever. But there's nothing basic about this movie. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at this. Nope, never mind. That's not what I thought it was. Here's some other DVDs that belong. This is one of my favorites. So this belongs to Fred and Dead. And this is the Italian version of Young Frankenstein. It's called Frankenstein Jr. It always cracks me up when I see that. The Afrobot says The Castle of Cagliostro. I don't think I've seen that one. Jugsy says, I really want to see the airplane one. Oh yeah, the one about the pig guy who's a pilot. Yeah, there's a few Miyazaki movies I haven't seen, and I think all of the ones that were just mentioned are ones I haven't seen. So Fred and Dead, we can keep all of those DVDs of yours if you want to. We can get rid of some of them. It is up to you. This is something, Revolutionary Girl Utina. I don't know what this is, but this isn't. This is a Fred and Dead classic. I'm assuming you want to keep these, Fred, so let me know. I'll set those in the I'm assuming we keep them pile. What else do we have? Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. Scott Pilgrim, of course. Great movie. Have you guys seen the Scott Pilgrim show on Netflix? The animated show? Man, that was good. I like that so much. Okay, Fred and Dad, I'm going to keep all that stuff. I'm not getting rid of anything. Don't worry about it. Cowboy Bebop, of course, a classic. This is probably easy to stream, but I think we should keep this too, because you never know. And this is a good enough show that we should always have access to it. So we'll keep this. Oh, this is the stuff I'm definitely never going to get rid of, because these are the 80s Godzilla movies. Some of these are actually really rare. My favorite Godzilla movie of all time is Godzilla vs. Biollante, and this is hard to find. It is out of print in the US, and I think I paid quite a bit of money for this, actually. There wasn't really another way, at least when I bought this, which was a number of years ago now. I don't think there was another way to watch this movie with English subtitles. And it is the best. If you like Godzilla, if you think you might like Godzilla, find a way to watch this, because this is the best Godzilla movie. Second best Godzilla movie is Godzilla 1984, also one of my faves. This is kind of a direct sequel to the original 1954 Godzilla movie, and is also it looks so cool. It's just so visually consistent. The Godzilla suit looks like $1 million, and it just, I don't know, it just reeks Japan in the 80s, and it is beautiful and fun, but then also kind of scary and upsetting sometimes, and is wonderful. All of those 80s era Godzilla movies are terrific. I have, yeah, what's weird is like some of these sometimes the only way to get these movies is in like these twofers, and you'll get like one movie that's from the post 2000 Godzilla that isn't really continuity, and then you'll get another one from the 80s Godzilla which had really consistent continuity with like reoccurring characters and stuff. So like if you bought these and watched these movies back to back, you might get confused, because the post 2000 Godzilla movies didn't have a whole lot of continuity from one movie to the other. Sometimes, but not really. But the 1980s ones did. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla is also a great one. So these are all keepers because I like the Godzilla. Okay, hang on. I gotta go get a couple more stacks. Couple more stacks. Blah. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. I have returned. All right, what else we got? Iron Man 2 Steelbook. I would say this is up there, probably tied at the bottom for MCU movies for me is Iron Man 2. But that cover is great, if you can see it. This is a Steelbook 4K. So we'll put that there. The Hammer Dracula movies with Christopher Lee from the 60s and 70s are great. This is one of the good ones. Taste the Blood of Dracula. Keep. Iron Man 1, also great cover for that. And the Incredible Hulk, less great cover for that one, to be honest. Let's see, Chorus Line is one of my favorite musicals. The movie kind of stinks. I'm gonna get rid of this because I don't love this movie. So this is a get rid of. And the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. This is pre-MCU. I would say hands down this was the best superhero movie ever made. Now, you know, I think a couple of those Captain America movies give it a run for its money. But also not something that I need to own. But if you haven't seen Superman 2 specifically, the director's cut, which is what this is, it is a wonderful movie as far as superhero movies go. I think it can stand toe to toe with anything that's come out in the last 10 to 20 years. But all of that said, I'm not going to keep it because stuff's gotta go. Weird Science, also classic. Don't need to keep it though. This is from Arrow. They make lots of really nice Blu-ray movies. I mean, I guess this is relatively obscure, although it's a John Hughes movie. But I'm not gonna keep this either. Normie says, unrelated, but the new Interview with the Vampire. That's good to know. I've heard good things about that show, Normie, aka Oldman. And I've been meaning to check it out. The Interview with the Vampire. Should I keep this? Yeah, I changed my mind about Weird Science. And then also Arrow Video's Flash Gordon. This movie, if you haven't seen this movie, speaking of Queen, Queen does the whole soundtrack to this movie. It is dumb, but man, it looks like $1,000,000, and it's a fun time. So I've just changed my mind just because they're Arrow, and they're not always easy to get. That I'm going to keep both of these. Man, I'm not really getting rid of anything, am I? A couple other movies I bought for my kid. Miffy, if you like Miffy, but I don't think we need to keep these either. So those can go in the get rid of. And this is something I've owned for 1,000,000 years. I saw it once, probably like 15 or more years ago, and never saw it again. This is a silent, it's relatively recently made, 2005, so actually it's 20 years old, Jesus. But this is like a silent movie version of the Call of Cthulhu. Super cool. Probably not something that's easy to find or see, so I'll keep this just because I don't think it's likely something that you can find again if I wanted to watch it later. But it's like a 2005, but it's black and white. You can see the pictures on the back. And it's got like the text, because it's a silent movie, but it's the Call of Cthulhu, which is one of my favorite scary stories. Spooky. So we'll keep that too, why not? The Wiz, also one of my favorite musicals of all time, but I'm not gonna, I'm putting this in the maybe. I don't know. Oh, this is one that's easy. I'm definitely not going to keep this. The G.I. Joe cartoon for my kids. I saw this really cheap somewhere, and I needed a little bit of a nostalgia fix, so I got it, and I watched them all, and it was super fun, but I don't need to do that again. So this is, I can get rid of. Easy choice on that one. Angel on DVD, also never released digital remaster. Let me know what you think about this Front of Dead. I'm going to put this in the maybe to keep pile. Maybe we'll keep it, maybe we won't. Also something that if we did want to watch this again, we have probably other options to do that. Yeah, Front of Dead says, nah. Okay, I'll put this in the get rid of. And then we've got Yes, Madam, which is a young Michelle Yeoh movie. It's really great martial arts fighting in this movie. Also, movie not easy to stream or find to watch in other places, but I've seen it and I liked it, and I don't need to keep it. So we'll get rid of this one too. But I love that cover. Pork chop sandwiches, yeah. My favorite one of those, making fun of the G.I. Joe cartoon, is I'm a computer. I working in IT for a very long time, I say that a lot. I'm a computer. Classic. Event Horizon on 4K. Yeah, we'll keep this, right? We should keep that. Worth keeping. This is part 1 of Mobile Suit Gundam, which I really like. I don't watch a lot of anime, but I like this one. Dad says it's true. He says that daily. I don't say I'm a computer daily, but I say it a lot. For sure, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm going to put this in the maybe. I need to think about that. And then I also have, this was on sale once a while ago. I bought this is like all of Ultraman, or almost all of it, because it was super cheap. And the little bit of this I watched I really liked. So I'm keeping this for now, because I would like to watch all of this. But I'll probably, once I get through it, not want to keep it anymore. And then we've got What else do we have? 2 more Christopher Lee Dracula movies from Hammer. Keeping those because those are great. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is also Arrow. I'm going to put this in the maybe. I don't know. I'll put that in the maybe. And then we've got a lot more Criterion movies. We're keeping all of these. But I'll show you what these are. Fantastic Planet. Come on. Fantastic Planet. Classic. The Afrobot says, I love Gundam, and I say pass it along. Let someone else get hooked on it. Ha ha ha. I want to make sure that I've watched every episode of Gundam before I decide whether I'm going to keep it or not. If I'm missing any of it, I might keep it until I watch it. That's good advice. I'm not going to throw any of this away. I might put some of it on eBay if I feel like putting the energy into it, or see if I can trade it in for something else at my local comic book / media store. I've heard about the Gundam Origin movies that remake the original series. I really enjoyed the original series, and I like how old the animation is. So I'm going to keep those like they are. So these are a few of the Criterion movies that I have. Fantastic Planet is a classic. So is Kronos. This is Guillermo del Toro, right? Isn't those? Yes. And The Last Waltz is a concert movie that is really cool to watch. It's got, my mind is drawing a Blake, but it's got some Van Morrison on it. And even though I think he's not a nice guy, I'm a big Van Morrison fan. So that's a keeper. Lady Snowblood. If you haven't seen Lady Snowblood, you should. This is like what Kill Bill is essentially just ripping off this whole movie. Lots of fun and intense. One of the most important movies to me in my whole life is All That Jazz. Starring Roy Scheider, directed by my favorite choreographer of all time, Bob Fosse, of course. And this movie is terrific. Hard to describe. It's like kind of like a semi-biographical, autobiographical movie about Bob Fosse. But there's lots of really great, amazing dancing and music in it, if you like that sort of thing. My taste in stuff is all over the place, because I was just talking about how much I love Event Horizon, and then this is The Mikado, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan musical, operetta technically, and also one of my favorites. If you like old-timey, like by old-timey I mean like 1800s, music's really great, The Mikado. Another Twirly Woos, we're not going to keep that. And then we got, oh yeah, this is cool. This is a twofer just on DVD. I don't think these movies were ever made on Blu-ray, but this is Dracula's Daughter and Son of Dracula. These are Universal horror movies from, I'm going to guess the 40s. Can I see a year on this? I'm guessing the 40s, maybe the 50s, but probably the 40s. People talk about the Universal horror movies. They talk about like Bela Lugosi Dracula and stuff like that. These are, a little bit later and not as famous, but are creepy and eerie and fun in the same way. I really like both of these. And also something that almost certainly isn't streaming anywhere and probably won't be anytime soon. So I will keep them. Now, if these came out on Blu-ray, I would definitely, or 4K or whatever, I would definitely spend money to get more of those. Christopher Lee made a lot of Dracula movies. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. I don't remember this one, to be honest. But I've got them all, so I'm going to keep that. Life Force, great and weird 80s horror movie, lots of nudity, if you like that sort of thing. And then this is another one that I was kind of on the fence of keeping, but I'm going to keep it because this is not likely to be streaming anywhere either. We were just talking about H.P. Lovecraft a minute ago. Another really great H.P. Lovecraft story is the Dunwich Horror. This movie has very, very little to do with the short story, but it is also lots of fun. Stars Dean Stockwell, who you might remember from Quantum Leap. He's that guy. If you can make him out. Young Dean Stockwell. I think he passed away a few years ago. But this is just, it's not a movie that's easy to watch otherwise. So I feel like I need to keep it because then you can't watch it in any other way. And then a couple more 4K horror movies. Cat People, also one of my faves. Soundtrack to this movie is amazing. There's a David Bowie song that's produced by Giorgio Moroder on the soundtrack to this. Such a good soundtrack. Movie's weird, and it's kind of porny. There's lots of sweaty people turning into cats. But visually beautiful movie, amazing soundtrack. And then, speaking of good soundtracks, is Last Night in Soho. This is The Keeper too. Love this movie. All right, why don't we take a break and we're making progress. More than halfway through already. I got to get all these on the shelf before I go to sleep tonight though. But let's do a question or two. Because we have them. If you're joining in late, just as a reminder, everybody, this is the advice stream. I'm Jeremy International. The advice stream is where we normally play old video games, although today we're kind of pruning my movie collection. I am hoping I can get rid of more than I've already committed to as we go along. If you'd like to seek advice, you can head on over to JeremyInternational.com. There's a contact form there you can use to submit a question. But I have a couple questions I have gleaned from the internet, and we're going to do one of them right now. Okay, here we go. I, 34 female, have been openly pagan my entire adult life. I am very private with my practice and rarely involve my husband and kids. My husband, 32 male, has recently decided to go back to the Catholic Church after being away his entire adult life. With his rejoining the church, it has triggered his OCD and he has become very scrupulous. Last night he dropped the bomb on me that he no longer believes we can be sexually intimate unless it leads to penis and vagina sex. Oh yeah, we acknowledge the existence of sex on the advice stream content warning. Unless it leads to penis and vagina sex as a result, i.e., I can't give him blowjobs or hand jobs to climax. He can't finger me or give me oral to climax. No mutual masturbation or mutual oral. All this comes directly after I told him I needed more intimacy that wasn't sex because he also suffers from premature ejaculation and can't last more than a stroke or two before sex is over, and I'm left frustrated and unfulfilled. We have been married nearly 11 years. I, of course, am not taking this well. I have tried telling him that it is completely unfair to impose his religious restrictions on me like this. He will not budge because in his eyes, that is sinning. We're basically teetering on the edge of divorce because of all of this, and it's going to destroy the lives of our children. That's it. They're not really asking a question, but I guess the implied question there is, what should they do? This is a tricky one because I think there's the one obvious thing going on, and then there's something that's a little bit more subtle in context. As always, I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the chat if you have any. But the bottom line, the short version of this is he's decided to become complicatedly, devoutly religious in a way that has a massive negative impact on his wife's life, and doesn't seem to be interested in talking about or negotiating on that because he has this very clear religious viewpoint. There's a couple of things worth picking apart. First off, she says it has triggered his OCD. If he actually has OCD, if he's diagnosed with OCD, then maybe it's worth putting some work into, I don't know how people treat OCD, medication or occupational therapy or something. Like maybe if the OCD is real, people use I have OCD or I'm so OCD in ways that aren't actually clinical. So if he actually has OCD, then maybe it's worth having a conversation about seeing if he can get some treatment or if he can work on developing some skills through a professional service that can help him manage that a little bit more. If the letter writer's just using OCD as a catch-all for his, kind of this focused behavior, we talk about this on the show all the time. Getting married or getting into a long-term committed relationship means that you're agreeing to change with somebody. People are always changing. Every individual is a big, complicated mess of contradictions and neuroses. And so people change. Sometimes they change dramatically within a day. They change slowly over long periods of time. People are always changing. When you get married or you commit to a long-term relationship, you're committing to changing with that person. And if you ever get to the point where that person changes in a way that isn't suitable or sustainable for you, then that's when the relationship needs to end. And he has, on reading this through the surface, we'll get into the deeper level here in a second, but reading through the surface is he's changed in a really profound way that doesn't work for you. And I'd imagine that this really strict kind of religious procedure he's committed to isn't just going to be limited to your sex life. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, especially when it comes to like political stuff, that might be changing along with this. And I think people have a right to their religious beliefs, and if he wants to be religious like this, then that's it. That's a good reason to end a marriage. Well, maybe not a good reason, but it is a reasonable reason. It is a respectable reason. And I think a lot of people, including me, would say it is a necessary reason. It's a reason that makes ending the marriage necessary. But on top of all of that is he's just not interested in even having a conversation, it seems like, about the letter writer's sexual needs. And that's a really important thing for, maybe not for everybody, but for lots of people, most people. And he doesn't care about that. This goes back, I'm going all over the place here, but this goes back to something I think we talked about a few weeks ago, that religious convictions aren't an end on their own, that they're usually an end to a means. People ascribe to isms, whether they're religions or political or moral philosophies. People usually ascribe to those, not usually, always ascribe to those, because there's something they already want to do and they're looking for a way to justify it. People don't live their life by religious creeds, they live their life by their hearts and their minds, and then they conform the religious beliefs around what they wanted to do. This is how everybody is. I'm not saying this is one religion or another. I'm not saying it's just religion. It's everything. So he wants that. This is the type of sexual relationship he wants to have, and he's using the religion to justify that. And that's, I think, also a very valid reason to want to end. It's going to destroy the kids. Divorce is hard for everybody. But, get them therapy. Make sure that you're available to help them through this. And it would be better for them to have a happy mother and not have their parents together. That's a better choice for your kids at this point, I think. The chat says, blah, blah, blah. Fred Undead says it only benefits him, by the way. Yep. Also, the timing of her asking for her needs to be met and him being like, no, religion won't let me. Right. And then Fred Undead says, which, by the way, is also not accurate in Catholicism. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Catholic expert, but I didn't know that this was such a strict rule in Catholicism. Is that? I mean, isn't it in a lot of like Christian traditions? It's not about sex can only happen if it's for the purpose of having a kid, for having a baby. So whether it's P and V sex or a blowjob or whatever, unless your goal is to have a baby, it doesn't matter. You're not allowed to do it, right? So this is a weird interpretation, I think. Having said all that, I'm not trying to interpret other people's religions, but all right, people. To recap, because I just talked a whole lot. People decide what they want to do, and then they bend their religious or political or moral philosophy around that end result that they already committed to. And this is no different than that. He doesn't want to engage in the type of sex that his wife does, and he's using his religion as a way to justify that. And you're not going to be able to convince him not to do that. That's just how he's going to be. And if you want to have a fulfilling sexual life, then you're going to need to. I don't think he's going to agree to opening up your marriage. So I think your options here are pretty clear. Okay. Also, Keeper are next generation remastered on Blu-ray. These are also great. Best way to watch the show, I think. So we're going to keep those. And then more Star Trek. I think this might be the end of the Star Trek, though, is we went over 5, 6, and 7 for Voyager. This is 1, 2, and 3 in one box. And then we also have all of Deep Space Nine in these 2 cases. Once again, Deep Space Nine, just like Voyager, is only on DVD, which is too bad. Maybe someday we'll get a higher resolution. Okay, what a mess. Let me see if I can tidy this up a little bit. Oh, hello, my cat is here. Come here. This is my cat. He's a big cat. Look at everybody. Say hi. No, you don't want to. Okay. I need to get up again and get a couple more stacks to go through. Excuse me. Out of my way. Excuse me. Okay, I'm back. Okay, hopefully we can get through some giveaways at this point. Indiana Jones, this is not the last one, and it's Blu-ray. I'm assuming there'll be some really nice 4K of all of them, so I'm going to get rid of this. I enjoy Indiana Jones. This is the Werner Herzog Nosferatu, which is fine. I think we did a whole episode of this around Halloween with a guest star. I'm not going to keep that either. I am going to keep all of the, what are these called? Monsterverse movies on 4K, so that's the keeper. And I'm definitely going to keep Pee-wee's Big Adventure, also one of my favorite movies of all time. Also a keeper. This is my life. Check this out, everybody. Look at this. I can't sit in one place without him sitting on my lap, so this is my life now. So I'm kind of stuck here with my cat for the time being. More Marvel Steel books. This is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Some of these covers, though, are so good. Look at this Captain America. Isn't that great? Love that. Thor also looks amazing. And just going to skip through most of these. Here's some more Criterion keepers. We got Rashomon, of course. Also a good one. And we got, I've never seen this, Haxan 1922, so that must be a silent movie. Bicycle Thieves. One of Fred Undead's favorites, Solaris. One of my favorites, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Definitely a keeper. And The Hidden Fortress, so good. I love The Hidden Fortress. If you haven't seen Kurosawa, Hidden Fortress. People say, I don't know if this is true or not, but the original Star Wars is kind of a ripoff of this, and it kind of sort of is, but only in a really vague way. But if you watch this, it has big original Star Wars kind of plot points. Have a really cool Bruce Lee collection from the Criterion collection. I haven't seen every movie in here, but I've seen most of them. And if you like Bruce Lee, you'll like those. This is another one of my favorite movies. This is Topsy Turvy, which is about the creation and the production of the Mikado, which we just talked about a minute ago. So it's about Gilbert and Sullivan making a musical in 1999, but it takes place in 1885 because Gilbert and Sullivan. More, I'm not even going to show you all these. More Marvel Cinematic Universe steelbooks, unless one of these is extra cool. They're all fine. All right, here's one I think I'm going to get rid of. I've seen all of these. They're not difficult to stream if you want to. This is a 4K, but they're 4K. I'm putting this in maybe. Alfred Hitchcock collection. More Christopher Lee Dracula. Those are all keepers. Steelbook, Steelbook, Steelbook. Desperately Seeking Susan, classic. I don't need to keep that. With Madonna in it when she was just getting started. Alien, 6 film collection. I'm not going to keep that either. The Terror season 1. I haven't seen this. We're going to keep this for now. Because I bought this a while ago planning on watching it and then never got around to it. So that is a keeper. Oppenheimer. Don't think I need to keep that. And more 4K Alfred Hitchcock. That's a maybe. Oh boy. It fell out all over the place. That's a maybe. Some random James Bond movies. Don't need to keep that. Brewster's Millions, also a great comedy. Richard Pryor, John Candy. But I don't think I need to keep that either. The premise of this movie, by the way, is Richard Pryor. It's a really great premise. Richard Pryor discovers he has a very, very wealthy old relative who's died, and the old relative's will says that he can have some insane amount of money. You can have $10 million right now, and you're good to go. Or if you get some other, like $100 million, and you have like a month or something to spend all of it, and you can't have any assets, you can't have anything to show for all that money, you have to spend it and have nothing, then at the end of that you get like $1 billion or something. And so he decides to go with that, and it's really fun how all the different ways he spends lots of money and doesn't have anything to show for it. It's clever. There's a lot of good gags in there. Get off my lap, cat. I gotta go get more of these. Ooh. Okay. Man, we're making good progress. We're actually getting close to being done here. Let's do one stack, and then we'll do another question. Chainsaw Man, keeper, obviously. Another Criterion movie, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, also because I'm keeping all the Criterion stuff. That is good. It's Terry Gilliam, right? Yeah. Great movie. Trying to slowly switch over to the new 4K of the Star Trek movies. And I've got the motion picture, which is really good. A lot of people hate on this movie. I think this movie is amazing. It's very slow paced. So just don't be in a hurry when you go to see it. And then, of course, Wrath of Khan, perfect action movie. And then Search for Spock, which is a little bit more complicated than that. We'll leave it at that, being polite. Did we talk about this last week? Dragon Slayer. Really, it's crazy no one talks about this movie. Such a good fantasy movie, early 80s. Probably early 80s fantasy movie. I don't have a date on it. But I love this movie. This is one of my faves. I know we talked about Vibes last week. I'm not going to say that again. But watch Vibes. Find a way to watch Vibes. More MCU Steelbooks. I think this is the last of them. The last of... Man, how many movies do they make? So many superhero movies. We got another Woody Allen movie. Oh, here's another would go up high on my list of best comedies is Noises Off. This is a play. I was actually, I worked on a production of this a million years ago when I was in college. But the premise of this is the first half of the play is it's a play. So your audience is in the audience. And the set of the stage, the set on the stage is the set of a play. And all of the characters are actors that are rehearsing, getting ready for opening night of the play. So you're watching them rehearse, and the actors are all crazy people and have all kinds of weird idiosyncrasies and are nuts. And they also all have like really intense like interpersonal relationships, like they're all sleeping with each other or cheating on each other with other people. And so it's and then the second half of the play is everything turns around and you're just seeing backstage while the play is going on. And then all of the tension between these people gets out of control, and it's hysterical and super fun. Carol Burnett's in this, and John Ritter. Christopher Reeve is in this. I forgot about that. Michael Caine. Super, super great comedy. If you haven't, you should get a chance to check that out. Noises Off. This is definitely something I'm going to keep, speaking of Universal horror movies. 4K remasters. I'm a big fan of all of these movies, but especially The Mummy, I think is my favorite. Well, The Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite, obviously, but The Mummy's pretty high up there. So those are keepers. I think we talked about this last time too. The Thing is probably my favorite horror movie of all time. Maybe even my favorite movie, or one of my favorite movies of all time. And this is a really nice 4K. The Afrobot Kill Bill was inspired by Lady Snowblood, which is on the Criterion Collection. There's actually 2 Lady Snowblood movies, and they're in one box. But it's a woman who's been wronged and is on a mission of revenge, and it's very bloody, and lots of people getting parts cut off with swords. I'm not saying anything bad about this, because this is a lot of what filmmaking is, but Quentin Tarantino heavily borrows from a lot of stuff when he makes his movies, and this is heavily Kill Bill borrows from Lady Snowblood. You should, if you like that kind of, and it's one of those movies where like the bad guys are really bad and there's nothing redeemable about them. So when Lady Snowblood comes up and starts chopping their arms off or whatever, you're just rooting for her, because it does a really good job of building just kind of like disgust with the bad guys before Lady Snowblood catches up with them. And when she does, it is not good. Couple other, we talked about this last time too, but I can't say enough good things about this movie. Phantom of the Paradise. Weird musical horror movie. And all the music is by Paul Williams. Paul Williams actually wrote a lot of songs that the Carpenters recorded. He also did Rainbow Connection, that Kermit the Frog is famous for singing, and does all the music in this too. And it is so weird and strange and amazing. The Afrobot says, thank you. Yes, I'm down for all that. Yeah, check out Lady Snowblood. The weird thing about the Criterion channel I used to subscribe to and I stopped is they never have everything in the collection. They have a lot of stuff that's out of the collection, but they cycle through stuff. So I don't know the best way to see Lady Snowblood unless you want to go buy it on disc somewhere. But it might be on the Criterion channel if you have it at some point. This is a horror movie I bought. Still haven't seen it, but I really want to. The Paganini horror is about like a haunted piece of classical music or something, I think is what it's about. But you can't beat that cover. And it's in English and Italian. And as I very slowly take my time learning Italian, I figured this would be a good movie too. learn. Another one of my favorite horror movies, American Werewolf in London. Look at that cover. That's a great cover. What else we got? One of the best concert movies, not the best, one of the best concert movies of all time, Rolling Stones' Rock and Roll Circus. If you like that kind of music, you can't beat this. Big fan of that. Have that on vinyl. Also, one of these days, I'm going to take a break from doing this, but one of these days I'm going to do a show like this with my vinyl collection, which also I desperately need to pare down. Jackie Chan, Police Story 1 and 2 from that Criterion channel. Yojimbo and Sanjuro. Criterion, Female Trouble, John Waters. What else we got here? Lots and lots of movies. I'm not going to go over all of them. Oh, this is a good one. House. If you like weird horror movies, this is a scene in this movie where a man turns into a pile of watermelons. I think they're watermelons. So scary, watermelons. I'm a really big Fred Astaire movie, and this is a great Fred Astaire movie, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. This scene where they're dancing on the cover here is one of the best scenes the two of them ever did in a movie. This movie has a big sequence where he is in blackface at the end. So, bummer for all of us for that. Otherwise, I guess, can you say that? There are better Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies than Swing Time. If you want to get into Fred and Ginger and you don't want to watch someone perform in blackface, my personal favorite Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie is Roberta, not on the Criterion channel, but it's wonderful and silly and fun and has some really beautiful dancing with the two of them in it, if that's the sort of thing you want to get into. You know, it's so rare in life that something gets a lot of like acclaim and people talk about how great it is, and then it actually is that great. Seven Samurai is one of those movies. Everyone universally says this movie is an amazing work of art, and it absolutely is. I haven't seen this in too long. I feel like there's a viewing of this in my near future, because this movie deserves all of the acclaim, all of the special place in global culture and film history or whatever this movie has. It deserves 100% of, unambiguously, in my opinion. The Criterion channel a long time ago did a collection of Beastie Boys music videos. It's only on DVD. I can't imagine they can do this on Blu-ray just because of rights and stuff, but man, this is cool. I've had this for a very long time. And I'm glad that I do, and I shall not be getting rid of it. This came out in 2000, and I bet you I bought it in 2000. That's wild. Hard Day's Night by the Beatles. Beatles is basic, but I love the Beatles. This movie's fun, if you haven't seen it. Criterion. Oh, this is a good one. This is a movie I will not get rid of. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Elvira is a genius. What's her real name? Cassidy something? Cassandra something? Is a genius. Her like getting this like vampire lady Morticia Addams appearance, but doing the whole Valley Girl vibe is genius. And she cannot get enough credit for how brilliant of a comedian she is. We got the David Lynch Dune, which I know lots of people don't like. I love this movie. I'm sorry, all the haters out there, but I think this movie is amazing. Wizards. You guys ever see this movie, Wizards? A Ralph Bakshi animated movie. Super strange. Very, very cool. You should check out Wizards. Green Knight. I'll keep this. I like this movie. Do I? You let me know what you think. I'm putting this in the maybe pile. Let me know what you think, Fred Undead, if we should keep Green Knight or not. We can watch that anytime we want to. Another movie on the Criterion Collection is the original Night of the Living Dead. Interesting thing about this movie, a little bit of movie trivia for you. Back when this movie came out in 60-something, 1968. Okay, Fred Undead says keep the Green Knight. Yes, I really like that movie. The rules for copyright protecting a movie had something to do with like showing a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie the first time that it's screened or something that says this movie is copyright protected and so owns the copyright. They didn't do that when this movie was screened for the first time in 1968. So the original Night of the Living Dead, one of the greatest horror movies of all time, is not copyright protected. It's been in the public domain since 1968. You could copy this movie. You can make 100 copies of this movie on disc and sell them out of the trunk of your car and be totally within your legal rights to do so. Because it is not, it has never been, in fact, copyright protected. If you go to Amazon or something and search for Night of the Living Dead, you'll probably see 100 different products of this movie on a disc of some sort because of the weird copyright boo-boo they made when it was aired. I think George A. Romero probably made plenty of money with all of the sequels to this, though, so I'm still sure he was okay. But this is another one of those movies I think that is so essential to culture, to pop culture, and deserves all of the credit that it gets, because this is intense and terrific. If you like scary movies, that's a movie you gotta see. Oh, here we go. Princess Mononoke right here. I thought I had it. These are the Evangelion movies, at least 2 of them. Are there more? Here's the 3rd one. So we have these. Fred and Dead, let's watch these. Let's make this our thing after we finish the Orville, which I think is like, we have like 20 minutes to go until we're done. But we should do these. What else do we have? Almost done. Oh, here's more Gundam. This is volume 2. Keep putting that in maybe, but I will likely keep that. The Highlander, also classic. This is this 4K? It is, so I'm keeping that. Highlander on 4K. One of the jokes I always make about this movie is, the Highlander is about Scottish people, more or less. And it stars Sean Connery, who was the most famous Scottish person of our time. And the character that he plays' name is Juan Ramirez. It says right here on the back of the box. A movie about Scottish people, among other things, starring the most famous Scottish person of our generation, of our times, and his name is Juan Ramirez. That is funny. That's comedy right there. Why? Why do they do that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. How could anyone see Sean Connery and be like, Juan Ramirez? I read recently that Peter Jackson tried to get Sean Connery for Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings movies, and he wouldn't do it. This is another strange movie I don't ever remember seeing streaming anywhere. This is called The Cradle Will Rock. It's about the federal works project during the Great Depression, where the federal government just paid artists to make art because otherwise it was the Great Depression and they would just starve to death on the street. And some of the artists get political in a way that the government doesn't like. But everybody's in this movie. Bill Murray, Susan Sarandon, John Cusack, Joan Cusack. There's a million really tremendous performers in this movie. Vanessa Redgrave is in it. John Turturro. It's also like super long. It's not that long. It's 134 minutes. But Hank Azaria is in it. Oh yeah, and Jack Black is in it too. Young Jack Black. If you like theater, if you like this interesting part about American history during the New Deal and the Great Depression, this is a really great movie to watch. There's lots of like historical figures that are in it, like Orson Welles is a character in it. I think Frida Kahlo pops up. Diego Rivera definitely does. Yeah. This is one of my faves of all time, but it's a doozy of a movie. Keeping that. The Crucible, after up there with Death of a Salesman as the greatest plays in American history. This movie's terrific. It's got Daniel Day-Lewis in it, and he's never made a bad movie. I'm not going to keep this, though. I don't need to keep this. Do I? We'll see. I'm putting that in maybe. Whether I keep that or not depends on how much shelf space I end up having. Three Amigos is definitely a keeper. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, it's definitely not a short movie. The Creator Will Rock 134 minutes isn't a short movie, but it's I was thinking in my head that it was like 3 or 4 hours long for some reason. Not saying that it's short, but it's not as long as I thought it was. Speaking of Godzilla, Shin Godzilla, this is the most horror movie Godzilla movie. Although -1's going to give it a run for its money. But this movie is like upsetting sometimes in how gross and weird it is. Also a keeper for sure. Yeah, there's no way, Afrobot, I'm going to get rid of any Godzilla movie. Haven't seen any pre-orders open to buy -1 yet, but when that is available, I will certainly be purchasing that in 4K. Speaking of Godzilla movies, I would say this is a decent Godzilla movie. I would rate this pretty highly if I were to rank every Godzilla movie ever made. This would be, I mean, it might not be in the top 5, but it'd be in the top 10. I know that might be a controversial statement. And then, of course, we have Godzilla vs. Kong. You know what? I haven't seen the new one. That's crazy. That's up there with there's Star Trek I haven't seen. There's Godzilla movies I haven't seen too. This is, I went through a period where I wanted to get into silent German expressionist films, and I bought this. I never watched it. I'm probably not going to keep this. I'm sure there's some other way to watch this. Destiny. And then lastly, we have Bram Stoker's Dracula in 4K, which I will keep. Remember when we played the Dracula game for the Atari Lynx a couple weeks ago and how terrible that was? I just had flashbacks for that. All right, everybody, that is the only thing that I haven't shown you, just because I don't feel like getting up to get it again, is I have all 6 of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings Hobbit movies in 4K. Nice steel books that are over there. They're in these really pretty cases. I think I showed that last week. But that is all my movies. And I didn't get rid of as many as I thought that I would. I will, on my own time, get all of these back on the shelf. I do need to do that tonight. So why don't we do another question? The Afrobot says, remember the Dracula game for the SNES? There was loading bars on a SNES game? Do I have that game? I've got the Bram Stoker's Dracula for a lot of systems, but I don't think I have it for the Super Nintendo. Good thing I'm right here and I can look. I do not. I have surprisingly few Super Nintendo games. I need to do something about that. That's wild. Loading screens on a Super Nintendo game. I've never heard of such a thing. Maybe I can find that game. I have, right here, I have Bram Stoker's Dracula for Sega CD. I don't even have a Sega CD to play that on. But I have that game for a lot of different systems, but not for the Super Nintendo. But maybe I should rectify that and we can give it a shot. Yeah, the Game Gear Bram Stoker's Dracula game is pretty good. I like that game. That was the only version of that game that I liked. Afrobot says, I might be mixing up with Batman Forever, which did. Well, I haven't played that either. So, I'd imagine with, trying to figure out how that would work. Okay, let's read one more question we can discuss, and then we're probably going to wrap it up. It's 10:30 already. Oh yeah, this is a doozy. Excuse me. I rent. My girlfriend of 3 years owns her place. We were planning on moving in together in December when her older brother unexpectedly had to move to the Midwest. Her 16 and 13-year-old nieces didn't want to leave their schools in the middle of the semester, so they moved in with my girlfriend. This was supposed to be a temporary solution, only now the pair of them are throwing a fit about not being able to finish high school here with their friends. It is only a 2-bedroom place. I am extremely uncomfortable about how the girls act around me. They are extremely rude and walk all over their aunt. They don't do chores and feel free to make messes that she cleans up. I have caught the oldest sneaking out beer, and she threatened to call the cops on me for being a pervert, finger quotes. She later apologized and claimed it was just a joke, but there have been similar incidents. Their father thinks it is just fine to pawn off parenting for the next 4 or more years on my girlfriend. Our relationship has ground to a halt. I am tired of it. It isn't like this is a real family. It isn't like this is a real family crisis. I don't know what that means. The girls just don't want to move. My lease is up in July. I don't want to make an ultimatum, but we went from discussing our future together to nothing. What should I say? My girlfriend says that she is being pulled in too many directions. Jugsy's asking for the age again. They are 16 and 13. That's a tricky one for sure. I would say that my advice to the letter writer, their first responsibility should be in making sure that they don't get accused of being a child molester. Because that, whether it goes to court, whether you get convicted, whether you get acquitted, the accusation of something like that alone is enough to ruin your reputation forever. I would say, giving someone you care about an ultimatum is never a good idea. So telling your girlfriend they have to leave or I'm not going to date you anymore isn't a good look for anybody. But I think saying I'm not going to be in the same room as at least the older one anymore, I'm assuming that's the one that said she'd accuse him, I think is reasonable at this point. I think you need to tell the girlfriend, if you haven't, that she threatened, the 16-year-old threatened to accuse you of this. And the 16-year-old is in high school. I'm assuming the 13-year-old is in middle school. And it started by them wanting to just finish the semester, but now they won't leave. They want to finish, I guess, all school. So this hypothetically could be going on until the 13-year-old graduates high school, which could be a long time. 16 is maybe second year of high school, right? I was 16 my first year in high school, but I was a year behind. So this could be as little as 2 years, but as long as, 5 or 6 years. I think at the bare minimum, you should tell your girlfriend that you're not going to be around them anymore. And if they're going to be in the house, then she has to go out if she wants to see you and go on dates and continue to have a relationship. She has to come to your place. You go out to eat or something. Should definitely renew your lease. Don't let your lease move up. This is not the time to move into that house. Absolutely. I know it seems like they had plans to move in together. Those plans are going to have to hold. I guess when he said this isn't a real family crisis, like it'd be different if like these two kids, like parents died or something, or like the parents are in prison or something and they have no other place to go. They have another place to go. They can go live with their father. They just don't want to. So good for your girlfriend for sticking up for them and giving them a place to be. That's a good thing to see in a person, people that invest in their family. I think that's, generally speaking, as long as it doesn't get out of control, a good sign in a person. But this isn't going to work out. And this might be one of the times, we just talked about this. There's a lot of reasons to end a relationship, and this might be one of them. If she's not able to figure out how to get those kids back with their parents, and this kid is continuing to threaten you with something that would ruin your life forever, even though you didn't do it, maybe it wouldn't stand up in a court of law or whatever, it would ruin your standing, your reputation in your community. You'd have to move for the rest of your life if she actually accused you of that. That's not something to mess around with. So yeah, that's my take is, don't give your girlfriend an ultimatum, because adults shouldn't give each other ultimatums, at least about stuff like this. But make sure that you're clearly communicating that this isn't gonna work. She's threatened to accuse you of something very, very horrific, and as a result, to keep yourself safe, you're not going to go over her house anymore. You're not going to move in. And you're not going to go over her house. If she wants to continue the relationship, she can meet you out in the world or at your place. Definitely renew your lease. Let your landlord know right away. And if she's not able to do that, or she doesn't see the seriousness of this, if this doesn't get her to start pushing these kids to get back with their parents, then that's RIP to that relationship. I guess it sucks, but that's how it is sometimes. that's what I have for that. Okay, everyone, I think I had said before, this has been a challenging week for me health-wise. I'm feeling a little drained, and I need to get all this stuff on the shelf, so it's not taking up the whole floor here. So I'm going to say so long. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Thanks for being patient with us. We'll be back next week with Oldman in the studio where the audio will work, and we can chit-chat. We'll play some sort of game next week. I don't know what it is. We'll figure that out then. But until then, be well, be safe, be patient with yourself. I'm doing my best to do that for me too. And we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Normie. Good to see you, Jugsy. Good to see you, Amir. Good to see you, Afrobot. I haven't seen you in a while. So thanks for stopping by, but we'll see you next week.